Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining the Reef Starter Innovation Challenge webinar. My name is Jonathan Yakasha. I'm the Senior Manager for Open Innovation Programs with TechConnect, a division of ATI. I'll be your host and presenter for today's session. So, why are we all here? We're here to talk about the Reef Starter Innovation Challenge. And I'm joined today by two gentlemen from the Orbital Reef team. I'm joined by Shahir Gurgis and Haider Alabed. They're going to be talking to you about the Orbital Reef platform and the Reef Starter Challenge, and then we're going to transition into talking about the details of the challenge. I'm actually getting a little bit ahead of myself. That is what I should be on the screen right now. The agenda for today's session. I apologize for that. I've been practicing a little bit too much and just got ahead of myself. So, as I was saying, first little bit is going to be Haider and Shahir talking to you all about the platform and the company and the challenge. And then we're going to transition to me talking about the details of the challenge, how you're going to go about participating in the challenge, and why you would want to participate in the challenge. Then we're going to get into a few FAQ questions, and then the remaining half, really, of today's session will be questions from you. So, while you are listening to all of the presentations today, I urge you all to take advantage of this opportunity and submit your questions via the Q&A chat box. The questions as they come in, we will keep track of them. And during the latter half of today's session, we'll go through your questions and answer them during today's session. If you have questions outside of today's session, don't worry about it. We've got you covered, and I've got details on that in a little bit. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Haider and Shahir to tell us about the platform and the challenge. Haider, Shahir, take it away.
Thanks, appreciate it, Jonathan. So I'm Shahir Gurgis, Director of Business Strategy for Orbital Reef, and I'll be talking a little bit today about what Orbital Reef is. So if we go to the next slide.
Sure.
Orbital Reef is our commercial space station program. And so this is a replacement for the International Space Station. The International Space Station has brought us some amazing technology developments, has brought us some great proof of concept of the ability to do experimentation in space. And now we want to bring a commercial solution to space. And so this will be bringing all kinds of new market opportunities to space beyond the traditional NASA and international space agencies, and bringing this to a much more commercial and broader world. Our station is modular and scalable with the markets. And so as you see here, this version has many modules linked together, growing and growing with the market. And so we want to be bringing all kinds of new industries to space and bringing the capabilities associated with that. And so one of the early stages of that is right now trying to work with you all and finding all the great new solutions that can be coming to space and work together of bringing that to the space environment. And with the space station, we bring all kinds of new application opportunities in terms of the microgravity environment, which we can go into a little bit later. If we go to the next slide. So the space station that we showed, it's made up of several different components. So there's a core module. So the center spine of the station has these massive, amazing windows to be able to look up at the Earth, as well as very large accommodations for a lot of common areas. And it's also the source of all of the space utilities. So this station is going to provide you all of your power, your utilities, your environmental controls, all of that, so that you can focus on your mission and we handle the space portion of it. And then you have the life module, this large inflatable structure that will also have the living accommodations as well as some payload accommodations to do some experimentation. And in the bottom left, you'll see the research module, state-of-the-art lab facility that we're developing to be able to conduct all kinds of new experiments, new R&D, potentially new manufacturing up in space. And in the bottom right, you see the single-person spacecraft, an innovative idea from Genesis for how to do extravehicular activities outside without having to don a special suit and deal with pressurization changes. You just hop into this cool robotic system and you can actually go outside into space. And so all of this is what the platform is up in space. If you go to the next slide. This is all possible by a really strong team. And so Blue Origin and Sierra Space are principal partners for the development of this station. with Blue bringing the core module capability as well as the abilities of New Glenn, our large launch vehicle capability to be able to bring payloads and customers up to space and back, as well as Sierra Space bringing not just the life module for the living accommodations, but also their Dream Chaser for cargo and crew delivery to anywhere on the Earth through runway usable spaceplane application. And then we have teammates involved. We have Boeing bringing their expertise from the space station in terms of operations. We have Redwire bringing their experiment expertise and on-orbit facilities expertise, already running experiments on the space station today, bringing a lot of that knowledge and capability. We have Genesis bringing that single-person spacecraft that I showed before. We have Arizona State University, who is leading a consortium of universities worldwide to help us develop some of our research capabilities and be able to provide outreach to the world. And Amazon involved bringing their world-class logistics. Next slide. And so with all of that, we're bringing a lot more than just a platform in space. We're bringing an entire ecosystem. And so what you'll get from us is, transportation to and from the station, all of the logistics support, all of the power, thermal, all of the comms, anything that's the space utilities part. So we focus on bringing the space capabilities. You get to focus on your applications in space. That's our goal here. And with that, we also have a lot of customer service capabilities to help with payload development, with lab support, with in-space robotics, experience development, all of that to make the experience as great as possible for our customers. And so with that, we're creating the station, we're creating this ecosystem, but this is not a if you build it, they will come. And so I'm going to hand it off to Hyder to talk about Reef Starter of how we're going to help stimulate that growth.
Thanks, Shahir. Next slide.
There we go.
There we go. I knew we'd get there.
Yes.
Yes. So Reef Starter. Reef Starter is our newest initiative, focused on lowering barriers of entry for startups interested in bringing their innovations to space. Our goal for Reef Starter is we don't just want to, collaborate with great startups. Obviously that's the main goal and the purpose. But we also want to learn from the startups that have these new ideas. We don't know what we don't know, so we're encouraging everyone to reach out to us, get in touch, and that's kind of the benefit of Reef Starter is it's a two-way street. Next slide. Perfect. So yeah, our current offerings for Reef Starter, they kind of go hand in hand with one another. So it starts out with the startup outreach events. So we're going to different cities, connecting with the different startup ecosystem stakeholders. So founders, investors, industry experts, government folks, anybody that is spurring innovation in those local cities and those local startup ecosystems. And our goal is really to start the conversation on what orbital reef is, how microgravity can benefit different innovative technologies, and really what we're aiming to is try to identify really interesting startups that might be kind of a candidate for our Reef Starter initiative to collaborate on. From there, you can kind of see it leads into the workshops, and that's kind of our way. Once we've identified those different industry collaborators and those different startups, our goal is to kind of have a deeper conversation. And so really it's about answering the question, how can we get your innovation to space? Our goal is to have your startup focused on growing down here on terrestrial Earth. We'll focus on planning what that startup space ecosystem and experiment might be. So that's kind of where the workshops come in. And then last but not least, what kind of brings us to our conversation today, non-dilutive opportunities. We understand early stage startups, in order to grow, sometimes they need funding in order to do that. So, we're obviously happy to announce our Reef Starter Innovation Challenge. That's definitely falls right in here into that non-dilutive opportunity. And kind of our goal there, again, is two-way street, not only learning from you guys, but helping you grow and fostering that growth. Shahir, is there anything you wanted to add as far as the challenge goes?
Yeah, just this is an opportunity for us to kind of help spark that growth, and so we're putting that money forward to help, and we're kind of casting a wide net so that we can spark growth in what all the new ideas could be, innovating what we do in space. You know, like the internet back in the 90s, we didn't know what it was going to be 30 years later. And so we're looking to you all to come with these innovative new ideas to help us see what the future can be like. And so we want to create the platform and the ecosystem to help you succeed. But we want to see from you, what is that innovation, what does that future look like, and so that we can help each other. And so looking forward to all the great ideas that you guys can bring forward, and hopefully the funding that we can bring here can help accelerate that new innovative idea.
Exactly. Next slide. So why work with Reef Starter? You know, probably by now you have an idea, given the slides that have been presented, but you know, it starts with a range of expertise, right? So just not just on the Blue Origin side, but across the different, you know, companies working in the orbital reef ecosystem. You know, we have a range of expertise willing and ready to support your company to achieve that, you know, microgravity experiment and long-term work in low Earth orbit. So that's kind of the first cornerstone. Obviously, I view, and you know, really the team here views Reef Starter as a community. So we're building up a community, not just in the orbital reef ecosystem, but externally as well, of investors that are interested in the companies where we want to work with. You know, those government folks that, you know, are, you know, trying to put out different SBIRs that might be applicable to the technologies we work with. Industry experts, you know, nonprofits. There's a whole list, and we're trying to build up that community of support. As Shahir mentioned earlier, being a logistics provider, you know, we want to, you know, basically support you in the planning, the transportation, the logistics. You know, you focus on building that 2.0 product down here. Let us figure out how to get that innovation in space, and you know, get the data you need to build that product. And then last but not least, you know, kind of going hand in hand with doing that experiment, technology advancement. You know, the data you get, those innovations you bring from terrestrial Earth to low Earth orbit, you know, that's going to influence a lot of new innovations down here on Earth. So, you know, that can only help foster your growth and accelerate it. So,
and can I add one thing on that? Something that I probably should have mentioned earlier is, you know, orbital reef is planned to be up in space the second half of the 2020s. And so we want to create the pathway for you to have opportunities to operate in space, but we also have some platform capabilities through our teammates to help you advance your ideas through testing in space before that. So that includes New Shepard for 3 minutes of microgravity for some testing, and that also includes Dream Chaser from our Sierra partners that can provide you access to space and microgravity at an earlier stage. So, you know, whatever your timeline is, we have applications to help you advance your idea. And so as we work together, we'll find the right timeline and the right opportunities to advance that technology.
Jonathan, that's all for us, I think.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So now that they have hopefully inspired you to want to participate in the challenge, how do you go about doing it? Let's go into the details now. First and foremost, a question we have seen a bunch of times already in the registration for this, as well as submitted via the contact form on the challenge page. Are we interested in submissions from outside the United States? As you can see on your screen, an enthusiastic yes. Yes, we are interested from submissions from outside the United States. Are there some slight provisos there due to federal law? Yes, but by and large, we are interested in submissions from outside the United States. So take a look at that. Who are we looking for from the global community? As you can see on there, interested in early to growth stage startups, incubators, technology transfer firms. We do have academic and university researchers on that list. You are definitely welcome to participate. We're interested in organizations that are moving towards commercialization of their technology, not just a purely academic endeavor, an academic experiment. So be moving towards a commercialized product. We'll have a little bit more about that on a subsequent slide. But as you can see, we are interested in a very wide range of solvers from a global community to participate in this challenge. So if you think that your technology can benefit from access to microgravity, odds are we want to hear from you in this challenge. So definitely want you to submit to the Reef Starter Innovation Challenge. So what kinds of areas are of interest? What kinds of technologies? You can see some of them on this list right here. It is intentionally not meant to be an exhaustive list, but you can see agriculture to material science, pharma to physiology, advertising, entertainment, electronics technologies. If, like I said, your technology, your business could benefit from microgravity time, whether that's on the platform, whether that's a brief flight. If your technology can benefit from microgravity, we want to hear from you as a participant in this challenge. So let's talk
Can I add
timeline.
just one thing real quick,
Yes,
Jonathan?
please.
Yeah, going back to that, like, you know, we're not looking for you to have a full fleshed out idea of like having your microgravity experiment plan. We'll help you with that. Our goal is really just to have that high level idea of how it's going to help your business and really, you know, what that pathway looks like from a development standpoint.
Great, thanks for that, Ivan. So timeline, today is October 6th. Today is the informational webinar. You've chosen to spend an hour of your time with us, and we do appreciate that. So that's where we are on today's timeline. As you can see, coming up in subsequent weeks, I will be hosting office hours sessions. And those really are exactly what they sound like. It is me making myself available to the solver community to answer your questions. I'm not going to be presenting any new information. It is really just me being available to answer your questions in real time. We're going to have the registration links up for those sessions probably later this week. Wanted to get the webinar out of the way. You'll be able to join, ask your question. If you want to hang around and listen to the other questions that get submitted, fantastic. If I answer your question and you're done, fantastic. We'll see you when you submit. Speaking of submission, the possibly most important date on this timeline, November 4th. It's a Friday. That is the submission deadline. You need to get your submissions in via the challenge website by 8 p.m. Eastern time on Friday, November 4th. I strongly urge you not to wait till the last minute to submit your response. If you lose power, if your internet drops, if your cat walks across your laptop and accidentally deletes your proposal and you miss the deadline, I'm sorry, but you missed the deadline. So don't wait, start working on it, get it submitted in, and know that your proposal is in. The following two dates on there, November 17th, that is the virtual pitch event. Up to 25 respondents will be invited for the virtual pitch event on November 17th. Those that get invited, you will be notified in ample time to begin working on your submission. We know that you're going to have questions about that. We're going to give you lots of time to get your pitch presented or prepared so that you can present on the 17th. And then on December 6th, the announcement of winners for the Reef Starter Innovation Challenge. Kind of an important date as well, but you don't get to December 6th if you don't make it on November 4th. So keep that deadline in mind. You will definitely see and hear me reference that deadline a bunch of times through today's session and in the office hours, because quite frankly, one of the reasons I love my job is I get to read all the submissions that you guys bring to the projects that I work on, and I really enjoy doing that. So I want to see as many different technologies and submissions come in as possible, and I know that these gentlemen do as well. So speaking of submissions, how are they going to be evaluated? You can see the evaluation criteria on your screen right now, both for the written submission itself and for the virtual pitch event. Don't feel that you need to be furiously jotting down all of these numbers and notes right now. All of this information is available on the challenge page as we speak. The reason I am calling out these criteria, both for the submission and for the pitch, everything that you include in your response, whether that's the written response or the pitch, should be in service of at least one of these criteria. You are telling the judges a story about your business and about your technology. You want to make it engaging and compelling and interesting. You want them to say, wow, that's really cool. I want to know more about it. And these are the criteria that are going to get you there. So like I said, everything that you put in should be in service of one of these bullet points. On the response form tab, you will find a guidance document, a very brief guidance document that should help you better determine what kinds of information you could include in your response. And hopefully you'll take advantage of that. So now that we have told you what you need to do, what's in it for you? Apart from the very, very cool, my technology was flown in space aspect of things. And quite frankly, that is pretty cool. There is a mix of financial and non-financial incentives for participating in this challenge. So the financial ones. Up to 3 presenters will be awarded up to $100,000 each as a result of participation in this challenge. We also have innovation awards, up to $25,000. That is for those individuals and organizations who are at pre-seed stage for their technology or concept stage for their technology. So the really, really early stage technologies that are very, very promising and interesting, but aren't quite as well developed as some of the other technologies that get proposed. So you academic researchers, you university students, you're probably going to fall into that category, but maybe you don't. Maybe you've got a technology that you are spinning up into a business. Fantastic. We want to hear from you as a result of this challenge. Non-financial incentives. There's a few bullet points right there. As Haider and Shahir referenced, there's a number of different organizations that are participating to make Orbital Reef a reality. If you submit as a part of this challenge and are recognized as one of the finalists, you have access to those individuals. You're going to be introduced to those team members that can help your technology develop. You're also going to have access to workshops as well, again, to help your technology and business develop. The second bullet point on there, introduction to the various consortia of ATI. ATI, Advanced Technologies International, is the parent company of TechConnect, and they are responsible for managing roughly 24 consortia. And the consortia really are the bridge between industry and the vast purchasing power of the United States federal government. If you want to sell your technology into the federal government, going through one of the consortia is a great way to do it. And lastly, but definitely not least, is a fully paid registration for the TechConnect World Conference near Washington, D.C. in June next year. So that is a multi-day technology presentation, networking, deal-making event in Washington, D.C., again, across a wide range of different technologies, from material science to medical, to sensors, to electronics, you name it, there's probably somebody there who's working on something along those lines. So going to the conference would definitely be a benefit as well. So you have started submitting some questions, and I want to see more of them. So submit your questions through the Q&A chat box, and we'll get to those in just a little bit. However, if you have questions outside of the webinar, what are you going to do? As I referenced earlier, there's going to be the office hour sessions. You're going to be able to meet with me and ask your questions. Don't want to do that? Fantastic. Don't worry about it. Got you covered. As you can see up on the screen right now, you've got my email address and my phone number. You got a question about the challenge? Send me an email. Give me a call. Let me know what your question is. Let me know what you want to know about the challenge, and I'll go about getting you the information that you need. If it's a question that seems like it would benefit the entire solver community, maybe we make it into an FAQ question. If it is highly particular to just your submission, I'll answer your question and tell it just to you. We'll take it as they come, so please feel free to reach out. I definitely want to hear from all of you when it comes to the challenge. Speaking of questions, we obviously have a number of different questions that have come in already. So I'll go through a few FAQs, and then we'll move into the Q&A portion of today's session. So when will the Orbital Reef be in full operation? As these gentlemen referenced earlier, it'll be ready the latter half of this decade. So kind of keep that in mind. However, as Shahir said, there are other opportunities for microgravity access for you if you're on a slightly different timeline and what makes sense for you and your business. If it makes sense to be on the reef, fantastic. If it makes sense that you only need a shorter period of microgravity time, well, the Orbital Reef team will figure out what makes sense for you and for your business. Do I surrender any intellectual property as a result of participating in this challenge? Short answer, no. No, you don't. Anything and everything that you include in a response, whether that's in your written submission or in your pitch presentation, must be non-confidential in nature. And that really is for the protection of quite literally everybody involved. No one can be accused of misusing or misappropriating your IP if none has changed hands. When it comes to actually getting your stuff launched, if it's necessary to establish confidentiality agreements with the team from Orbital Reef, you guys can deal with that. If there's trade secret material that you need to keep quiet, okay, fine. But obviously the Orbital Reef team is going to need to know if there's any safety concerns for launch. But by and large, no, you're going to be completely protected as a result of participating in this challenge. How large can my technology be? There really isn't a hard, fast rule on how big your technology can be as a result of this. So if you want to propose an absolute behemoth of an add-on to the station, fantastic, great. But, and there's a colossal sized caveat here. As I'm sure many of you know, the launch constraints and costs scale very strongly with the size of whatever it is that you want to get up there. So if you're going to propose a brand new section for the Orbital Reef, you've got to be able to say and demonstrate that there is going to be an advantage to that size thing being launched. So keep that in mind when you are working on your proposal. The more you want to send, you got to have some really good advantages as well. Last FAQ, who will be scoring submissions? That is going to be a team from Orbital Reef, and it's going to be a mix of individuals. Some of them are going to be technology focused, some of them are going to be business focused. So when you are working on your response, try to thread that needle. Don't go so heavy on technology that you're excluding information about what makes your business interesting and advantageous to microgravity, but don't only focus on the business aspects and neglect the technology. You've really got to tell that compelling and interesting story and get both of those audiences engaged. So keep that in mind when you're building your response. All right, so now it's time for questions from all of you. We've got a number of them that have come in already. We're going to take quite literally the rest of our time today to go through your questions. So please feel free to take advantage of this opportunity to have the three of us answer your questions in just about real time. We're going to go through the questions one by one. Submit your questions. If you've got anything that you want to know about the challenge, please let us know. Our very first question, let's see, we've kind of touched on this. What stage of product development or technology is of interest? We've touched on this a little bit. Ideally, you should be moving beyond the concept stage for this challenge. There is the Innovation Award for those really, really early technologies that are at pre-seed stage or just at concept stage. But if your aim is for the big prize money, if you will, you really need to have advanced beyond the concept stage. You've got to be doing some development work on that as well. Hyde or Shahir, anything you guys want to add to that?
Yeah, one thing I typically say with Reef Starter is like we want to be able to support you from pre-seed to pre-IPO. But yeah, for the challenge, I think you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, we have the innovation awards for those concept pre-seed ideas. So to support those type of innovative companies, and then for the more mature ones that are ready to do an experiment in space, that's probably ones we definitely want to talk to as well.
Okay. All right. One of the other questions. We offer high-powered computers for space applications, so we support other operations. Are we still of interest? I'm going to go on a limb, Hyde or Shahir, and say the support technologies are probably not the primary focus here for the challenge. Still would like to know about them, but they're not the primary focus for the Reef Starter Innovation Challenge. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you put that well. Yeah.
Okay. What would you most like to see in the pitch deck? As I alluded to just a little bit ago, it's going to be a blend of technology and business case. So you're going to need to be able to speak to both of those components in your response in your pitch deck.
Yeah, and just adding to that, I mean, tell me why microgravity, why the LEO environment is important to you. Why is that something that makes this a unique application and brings that forward? And so there's a reason that's the top criteria, the first criteria listed. And so keep that in mind when you're putting together your pitch of why couldn't this just be done on the ground? And how does that become a business, and how does that technology mature? Those are all important to us, but really, why is this a opportunity in LEO?
Okay, we've got a number of questions referencing specific capabilities or technologies, hardware that would be available on the orbital reef. I'm guessing at this point, you guys are not prepared to say what the exact details are, and they're not really necessary at this point.
Yeah, I don't think that's something that's going to be specifically all that necessary for your pitch, is knowing what is on the station. It would be good to see in your proposal what you need from Reef. And I think there's actually a section to provide that. And so if there are capabilities that you need from Orbital Reef to be able to function in space, by all means, include that. And that's helpful to us. But that, if you say something that's not currently on our plan, that we're not going to use that against you. If anything, that's just great insight to us of what things we should be doing. And so if you want a reference for what's currently out there, take a look at what the International Space Station has in terms of payload capabilities, lockers, and just activities in space. And then, by all means, think, 1, 2, 3 steps further of what other things could be super helpful to you in terms of capabilities in space. We're looking at all kinds of new robotics and new utility capabilities up in space. So don't let that be a hindrance to what you bring together.
Okay. This is more of a process question. Questions about format or length. Format. If you're interested in participating in the challenge, you need to submit your response via the challenge page. Click on the Apply tab. That'll take you into the response form, and you can literally see all the questions right there on your screen. There are a couple of additional resources there. You're not required or expected to use all of them, but they are there for your benefit. There is the brief guide that I mentioned earlier for what to include in your response. There is also a Word document that replicates all of the response form questions so that you can work on your response offline. You will still need to respond online if you want to participate. As far as length, the individual text boxes have word caps on them. I think all total it's I forget the exact number, but it's a couple of pages. We're not looking for novel length submissions here. So don't feel like you need to give us dozens and dozens of pages of material on your technology, on your business. It really is that high level introduction to who you are, what you're doing, and what you want to do, and why microgravity makes sense for you. When it comes to the pitches, those are going to be equally compact as well. We're looking at 5 minutes of pitch presentation time and 5 minutes of question and answer time from the team at Orbital Reef. When I said that your response needs to be engaging and compelling and succinct, that was quite literal. You really need to be able to tell a good, compelling story in a short number of words. So when I said you need to make sure that everything is in service of your goal of those criteria, it really was a directive for you to take that to heart. So I hope that answers your question. The next question. Little bit of hardware opportunity type question. Is it only microgravity conditions, or can a sample be exposed to low orbit cosmic radiation as well? I don't know if somebody's trying to make MCU mutants or something else in mind here, but cosmic radiation, what do you guys think? Yes, no?
So we have the ability to have payloads inside and outside of the station. And so there's multiple opportunities to be on the inside as well as on externally mounted. And so there's different environments between those. Also, yeah, we tend to gravitate when it's a strange wording choice. We tend to talk about microgravity immediately, but there are other opportunities from being in the space environment, one of which is the radiation environment. And so if it's an application that takes advantage of that, absolutely come and bring that forward. If it's an idea that needs hard vacuum that isn't possible on Earth, and yeah, bring that forward. All kinds of things of those nature. We want to know what the unique applications that would use a LEO environment, a LEO destination are, not just limited to the microgravity benefits. So great question. Really appreciate that. Thanks.
And actually that answers a different question that I was